So you're probably aware that there are not many GPUs out there right now that are affordable and can get you playing modern AAA titles. One of them that you may want to look at though is the R9 290. So let's talk about that and why there is definitely an asterisk next to that recommendation. So the R9 290 launched all the way back in 2013, and right now on eBay you can pick them up more or less all day long for around $200 USD, and that's at least in the United States. Obviously, in other markets around the world that may vary. Now this R9 290 in front of me is one of the better ones that was made available, at least if you value cooling, because it has a massive cooler on it. It also features a dual BIOS switch, so there is a lot of premium features on this one, though not all of them are going to be this massive. So if you do have a smaller micro ATX case that this will not fit in, it is highly likely you'll still be able to find an R9 290 that can fit into your case. Now as far as performance goes, a lot of the time these cards are going to perform somewhat similarly to a GTX 970, but there is one giant drawback that is actually probably part of the reason these cards have dipped in pricing here in late 2021, and that is that AMD, as of this past summer, is no longer supporting the R9 290 cards. In fact, everything before the RX 400 series, that would include any AMD Fury cards, that would include the 300 series, the 200 series, as well as like the HD 7000 series, all those cards are no longer being supported as of this past summer, which, by the way, a little bit of a rant that I want to go on with AMD as far as all that goes. This is like the worst possible time to discontinue any sort of support for any of these GPUs, because we all know that you cannot find affordable GPUs on the open market right now. So why would you not just put a pin in that and continue supporting these cards until we get to a point where at least you can find some used cards that are somewhat new and still supported on the market at reasonable prices? It's really annoying when a giant corporation just sort of cuts off support for what seemingly is an arbitrary reason in the middle of a GPU shortage, knowing that there are tons of people out there that are stretching these cards and their usage as far as possible, trying to wait until the GPU market cools down. AMD, do better. And that does bring us perfectly to the asterisk with this card, beyond just being that it is no longer actively supported by AMD. There are modded drivers that can get this card running on more modern AMD drivers. And the caveat here is that AMD obviously is not going to be optimizing anything for these older cards they're no longer supporting. However, some games do require that you're on newer drivers than the ones that AMD cut support with the R9 290 back in the summer. For instance, Halo Infinite will actually technically run on this card if you don't have a modded driver. It's just that on my R9 290, I saw about 8 FPS, and in one video when I was doing a little bit of background research for this video, I saw an R9 390 that was getting all of 15 FPS without a modded driver. So while technically the game will load up, it will absolutely not be playable. Fortunately, the modded drivers that I am using, and I'm using the 9Z drivers for this card, are actually very simple to install. I will link the drivers themselves down below, but in that link, there's also a video that kind of walks you through the step-by-step process, as well as an actual written out tutorial on how to install the drivers. It goes without saying, when you're using non-authorized software like modded drivers, you should absolutely be very careful with who you trust. So do that process at your own risk. They're actually very simple to install though, and really, as long as you are okay at following just step-by-step directions, you should have no problem installing them. However, with that being said, I did notice this card, after the driver install, reports back as an R9 290X now and not the original R9 290, so that is a little bit quirky. But after I did install the new modded drivers, Halo Infinite will in fact run. Now, I was hoping Halo Infinite would run at a little bit higher FPS than I'm seeing here in this gameplay capture, whereas I was really hoping that I could see 60 FPS plus. I wasn't quite getting there in most cases, especially in single player. It seems like single player doesn't quite perform as well as multiplayer, and I would probably attribute that to just the size of the maps that you're running around in single player. But then switching over to multiplayer, we're actually getting somewhat decent frame rates to the point where you could definitely have a good time playing this game and be somewhat competitive. Now, if you're really, really good at this game, you're probably still going to be really, really good, even playing at just below 60 FPS in most cases. However, if you are somebody that does rely or just get used to having 60 FPS displays with really high frame rates in your games, you may struggle a little bit to adjust to a sub 60 FPS world. The good news here is we are not really ever approaching 30 FPS, so we are staying firmly in a fluid, very playable state with this title. Just understand that if you're used to 60 FPS, this might be a little bit jarring to be playing Halo Infinite at sub 60. But here's the thing. You can at least play Halo Infinite with the modded drivers, and this just goes back to that rant that I had with AMD and not supporting these GPUs. There is absolutely no reason the R9 290 couldn't be running Halo Infinite with an officially supported driver. It's just that AMD cut the driver support over the summer, and because they did, this card became effectively useless for somebody that really, really wanted to play Halo Infinite. Well, not completely useless. There are, tons of other games out there, but if you're really just eyeing Halo Infinite as like your next game to play constantly, you have an R9 290, you're sort of out of luck. So at the end of the day, if you have an R9 290 and you're looking to just extend its life a little bit further with modern AAA games like Halo Infinite that you're looking forward to playing, then you might have to go the modded driver route. And if you're somebody that's looking to get into PC gaming at a reasonable price, there are not many cards out there that are more reasonably priced right now than R9 290s or R9 390s, the cards in those generations in general. But a lot of that I think goes back to the fact that they are not officially supported by AMD anymore. Now, if the games you're playing are all pre-2021 games, or especially pre-summer 2021 games, then you should absolutely have no problem or no reservations about picking one of these cards up. But if you're somebody that's looking to play the most modern AAA titles, or just modern titles in general that need current driver support, then it's a little bit more of a mixed bag with the 290 and its other generation brothers and sisters with the 300 series, the 200 series, the Fury series, the HD 7000 series. All those cards are a little bit more of a crapshoot when it comes to actually playing modern games. So this is where I kick it back to you guys. Are you still using an R9 290 or one of these other cards that saw support cut in the middle of 2021? And if you are, let us know in those comments down below how these cards are still doing for you. Otherwise, if you like the video, give it a like, share, subscribe, comment. All those things are very helpful for the channel. You can follow me both on Instagram and on Twitter at Hoosier Hardware. And as always, I'll let YouTube queue up a couple more videos from my channel for you to watch. I'm Shane with Hoosier Hardware, and I'll see you guys in the next video.